All right, for this next unit, we're going to be talking about typographic portrait projects. So I do have everything posted out on Classroom for you. Let me just go on back out here, including the video for step-by-step tutorials and an additional option that you could follow through. And then my written tutorial is out here as well. Just click over to that. So it takes you through every single step as we go through it, but we'll also have the video that you can use as well. Okay, so going into what we're going to be doing with this, we're going to be getting started on how to posterize the image. This is very similar to posterizing that we did with the Andy Warhol Up Your Images from beginning Photoshop. And then we're actually going to go a little bit further than that, creating word brushes, stamping the words in, adding word patterns, background color, and then, of course, finishing touches. All right, so getting started, the first thing you're going to do is select a portrait that we want to base our image on. So you can go and do a Google search for the portrait that you like. For example, I typed in Al Pacino, and that's what you'll be doing for the day one of this version. So you're going to choose your portrait, like go out there, look for a good quality image that's large enough that if we do any manipulations on the photo, we're not going to get any low resolution. So under the tools bar, you can go ahead and change the size of it to large. You can change the color. You can get PNGs, transparent backgrounds. But this image right here looks pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and choose that one. So to get the image, you just go ahead, right click on it and make a copy of the image. And then in this step, we're going through and making a new canvas to work on. You'll notice the little letters that are kind of showing up correlates right with the tutorial that you're working on. So if you're not sure where you are at in the video, you can kind of take a look from there. So step one, you're going to go ahead and choose your selection tool. And we're just going around and making a selection of Al Pacino. Keyboard shortcut for the quick selection tool is W. And then you can go ahead and refine your selection and just kind of make sure you're getting all the bits of the hair in comparison to the background. So in the selection, we'll cut out the image to isolate it from the background, and then we'll use the posterize adjustment just to adjust the tone of the image and make it look more like a poster design. To cut it out and posterize the image, you're going to do the following. You're going to use the selection tool of your choice and select the person. If necessary, you might want to go in with the polygon lasso tool just to tighten it up, add or subtract parts as needed. And here we're going into the posterize step. Okay. And in this part, we're just going into levels and we're adjusting the sliders of the levels, usually set to right about number 4. And once you have it the way you like it, you're going to go ahead and click OK. And there we're just going through and deselecting, or you could hit Control D on your keyboard. And now we're going to talk a little bit about creating word brushes. So for this, you're going to go into your text tool, and it's the very first option. And you're going to type in 4 words that relate to the person. So for this instance, it's going to be Bronx, Sunny, Sicily, the Corleone family. And if you were stuck coming up with words that match your image, you could always do a Google search for it or go on to Wikipedia. And here we're going to define a brush setting. And what you're going to do is select a word by dragging the marquee completely around it. In this instance, it's the word Bronx. And then you're going to go ahead, click Edit, and choose Define Brush Preset. And you're going in and you're going to name the brush, just name it as Bronx. Then you just go through and you're going to repeat steps E through I until you've created brushes for all 4 words. And here the video is just going through and showing you how to resize the words until they are itty bitty, very, very small, and creating a pattern from them. So this takes you up to step T, if you're following along with the tutorial. And now we're going to go ahead and stamp the words in. So they're clicking to make the portrait layer visible. Note, you should be able to see the eyeball icon after you click on the image. Here we're clicking and dragging a small selection around any black part of the portrait. And then we're going in and clicking similar. Now all the dark areas have been selected. Here we're creating a new layer. So it's just Control J on your keyboard, creating a new layer. And we're going to name this Stamp. And then once you have it named, you're going to go ahead and hit OK. The new stamp layer should appear above the portrait layer after you do this. If it doesn't, just click and drag the layers into the correct positioning. Now we're going to go ahead and select our new brush. Okay. And then right click anywhere into the selected area of the canvas. Keyboard shortcuts are the brackets to make the brushes bigger or smaller, just save you a little bit of time. So you're going to pick one of the presets and start stamping, changing up the brush size as you go to kind of fill in those areas. And then just kind of go in between the different brush settings, the different brushes, and play with the sizes and the different words. So we're adding in word patterns next. So you're getting a new layer set in, and we're calling this one Pattern. The pattern layer should appear above your stamp layer. Then you're going to select your paint bucket tool. In the options bar, you're going to choose a pattern from the drop-down list. So we're going to zoom in on here, and we're going into pattern, and we're looking for the text pattern. And that takes you up to step letter I. So click on the selected area to paint in the pattern. You're going to hold down the control key on your keyboard and click the stamp layer. From there, you're going to go ahead and modify it. Choose to expand it and expand it by 1 pixel and then hit OK. Here we're just going in and inversing our selection. Then you're going to select the pattern on the layers panel, click the Add Layer Mask button here, and select the portrait layer and click to make it visible again. Then choose Layer, Layer Style, and Color Overlay about halfway down. You're going to pick a color and blend mode and play with the opacity until you have it the way you like it. So here's the different blend modes: soft light, hard light, multiply, luminosity, and as far as color goes, that's up to you. There we go. Now adding background color in. We're going to go up to Layer, New, and back over to Layer. And this time around, we're just going to call this background color. And we're going to slide that down underneath the portrait. Then we're going to grab our paint bucket tool. Let's switch up the foreground color of that. And hit OK. Just make sure if the word pattern appears, you need to make sure that you have the foreground selected in the options bar. And then as far as background textures, this kind of falls into adding in the finishing touch area. You can go out to Google and do a search of urban textures. Otherwise, I have my overlays background textures file that you have access to, and there's hundreds of different things inside there. So either one you would like to do. I also do provide the same exact one right on Google Classroom. So in this section, we're going to start adding in some finishing touches just to give that background a little bit more flair, a little bit more of a texture. And this just takes you through saving the background texture, resizing the image to cover the whole canvas. There we go. And then once that's in place, you're just going to play again with the blending mode and try to find one that you feel like looks pretty nice and adds detail to the overall design. I think in this one I just picked darken, but you could also try multiply or even luminosity, color. And then going back over to your text tool, going to add a new layer in and just call this one the title. So this is going to show up above the texture layer. And then you could easily go with the name of the character or maybe the name of the actor. So of course this one is Al Pacino. And then you can double click on the title layer and add some layer style by adding in a stroke around the outside. This one is set for 12 pixels. Sample the purplish color from inside of the image so that it can add the stroke around the outside of the text and just unify your design together. And then you always have the option of playing around with the blending mode as well. And this is very close to your final image here. The last little step is just adding in a little bit of a drop shadow behind the text. And then, of course, saving your file. All right, if you have any questions, please call me on over and I can help you with that.